Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot using Sleeper. The roster positions for today's mock are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, a kicker, defense, and 5 bench spots. But before we could get on into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot. So the draft is going to begin here with Jamar Chase, followed by Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, and Malik Neighbors. So in terms of the first 11 picks, I don't really see anything out of the ordinary here. Now, a lot of the time, CeeDee Lamb is going to get taken ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown, but if you just flip-flop those guys, nothing there really looks crazy at all. A lot of people seem to be a little bit scared of Saquon Barkley. I personally am not, but I have been seeing him fall to the 5 or 6 pick, which would have seemed absolutely ludicrous a couple of months ago when Saquon Barkley, for a lot of people, was the unanimous 101. So looking at the best players available here, Christian McCaffrey, Nico Collins, Devon Achane, Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Drizzy Drake London, A.J. Brown, all available. So first, we're going to go ahead and get our wide receiver 1 here and go with Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. I think Nico Collins is going to absolutely smash this season. We saw him dominate last season, even with them having Stephon Diggs there, even with them having Tank Dell. And now both of those guys are gone. Stephon Diggs is in New England, and Tank Dell is hurt. So Nico Collins is the clear focal point inside of this offense. I think they are going to be clearly focusing on getting him down the field and tossing the ball his way. I get CJ Stroud didn't have the best year last season, but Nico Collins still had a big year. So if Nico Collins is able to stay healthy, I believe there's a chance that he could finish as the wide receiver number 1 overall. Now, if this is your home league and Christian McCaffrey falls to you at the 1.12, I would be ecstatic to do Christian McCaffrey and Nico Collins as my 1-2 punch. I absolutely love Christian McCaffrey this season. I get that there is injury risk, but you don't win your league making every single pick as safe as possible. You need that upside, and Christian McCaffrey is the definition of upside. I understand that he is boom or bust, but every single video I have seen of Christian McCaffrey, he looks like the Christian McCaffrey of the past. This is a guy that has not only just RB1 upside, but the RB1 upside where he scores 40, 50, 60, 70 plus more points than the running back who is the RB number 2. So if this was my home league draft, I would take Christian McCaffrey, but I think a lot of the times Christian McCaffrey would already have been selected. So for me, the discussion here would be between Devon Achane as well as Brian Thomas Jr. Now, Devon Achane is dealing with a soft tissue injury. He's dealing with a soft tissue injury that is expected to keep him out days and weeks, according to head coach Mike McDaniel. Now, he is not concerned about his status for week number 1, so it is something to monitor. In my opinion, if next week was week 1 and not the preseason, Devon Achane, more than likely, in my opinion, would be out there for the Dolphins. So I'm not going to panic completely off of this. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be playing their starters in the final preseason game, so they're just resting up Devon Achane. They are on a road trip. They're not going to be home until after preseason ends, so that's when they're going to evaluate him at home in the 305 Dale in Miami. So I think Devon Achane is going to be perfectly fine. Obviously something to monitor. So if you're drafting today and you're like, Nick, I want to go as safe as possible, I'm going to take bdge and Nico Collins. Neither of those guys are banged up, then go right ahead. Again, if this was my home league, I'm taking Christian McCaffrey, but I will go with my next highest ranked running back in Devon Achane. Just another guy that can suck in passes with the eliteness of Violet Myers. So I fully expect Devon Achane, fully expect Devon Achane to have a huge season. If 2 is healthy, the ceiling is the RB1 for Devon Achane. So after Achane, Christian McCaffrey, Brian Thomas Jr., Bucky Irving, Drizzy Drake London, A.J. Brown, Brock Bowers, Josh Jacobs, Ladd McConkey, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen, Trey McBride. The 3rd round opens with Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, Jaden, Stormy Daniels, Jalen, stop, it hurts, Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Lamar Jackson, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, George Kittle, as well as Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. Very shocking to see Jaden Daniels as well as Jalen Hurts go ahead of Lamar Jackson. Now, it's not an impossibility that those guys outscore Lamar Jackson, but in most leagues, Lamar Jackson's either the QB1 or the QB2 off of the board. So for me, right now, after you see Allen, Daniels, Hurts, Lamar, and Burrow off the board, it is just time to turn away from the quarterback position. If you wanted to take your quarterback in round 3, round 4, this would not be the draft to do so because, in my opinion, you are reaching if you take Mahomes, Baker, Bo Nix, any of these guys inside of the 3rd or 4th round this early on. At tight end, we also saw McBride, Bowers, and Kittle all come off the board. So to me, there's a pretty big tier gap after that into the range of Laporta, Hockenson, Kelsey, Andrews, where you might be able to wait multiple rounds between Sam Laporta and Mark Andrews, and I like both of them just as much, so I would be waiting at both tight end and quarterback. So for me, the picks here are going to be either running back or wide receiver. At the 3.12 here, I am going to go with Omarion Hampton. Now, Omarion Hampton is moving up draft board, so you might say it's a little bit unrealistic that he falls to the end of the 3rd round, but based on ADP, he's still going off the board in the 4th round. And some people are still nervous to draft him because one of their linemen is hurt, and people just like to panic off of everything. He's a rookie. There's kind of the rookie nerves. I am not nervous at all. I think Omarion Hampton is going to come into the NFL like a bat out of hell. He's going to produce. We saw J.K. Dobbins produce in this offense last season, and that wasn't the J.K. Dobbins of yesteryears. This is a more washed version of J.K. Dobbins, and he was still able to put up so many big performances. So I think Omarion Hampton is a steal inside of the late 3rd round. Now, in some of your more sharp leagues, he may come off the board early in the 3rd round, or in some leagues, someone may get overzealous and take him at the end of the 2nd round. Now, if you don't think it's realistic that Omarion Hampton would have been there, I probably would have punted the running back position at this spot unless you wanted to go with Alvin Kamara. James Cook, to me, is just a clear fade based upon the fact that he doesn't get over 50% of the snaps, and he scored way too many touchdowns last year for that to be repeatable, in my opinion. I would have went wide receiver, and I probably would have went with Marvin Harrison Jr. and a combination of maybe Devontae Adams or JSN, Mike Evans, guys in this range. So for me here, I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I simply just cannot shake the fact that I believe this guy is an elite talent and will be an elite player at the NFL level. Now, last year, we didn't really see much to prove that, right? We saw 2 or 3 spike games, but ultimately, that isn't worth jack shit when you're in a 17-game season, right? And some of those games that were bad were really bad. He was out there. He was looking invisible like John Cena. You couldn't see him. It was brutal, but we know deep down Marvin Harrison Jr. is an amazing talent. Kyler realistically should force feed him the ball. Will it actually happen? We shall see. Still the same coaching staff that absolutely fucked Marvin Harrison Jr. in the ass last season. So there are a lot of question marks, but to me, I think the upside outweighs the risk. But if you're like, Nick, I want to be safer, I'd be fine going Devontae Adams, JSN, right? But you know, Devontae Adams, who knows how healthy Matthew Stafford truly is? That's a question mark, even though I think he will be fine because that guy would play through anything. There could be an arrow in his knee, Skyrim style, and the guy would suit up. So I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. here, even if it is a little bit more risky. After Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Mike Evans, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara, Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, James Cook, Devontae Adams, Chuba Hubbard. The 5th round opens with Cortland Sutton, Zay Flowers, James Conner, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, George Pickens, David Montgomery, Xavier Worthy, Devontae Smith, Joe Mixon, and RJ Harvey. Now, one player I want to discuss is Kenneth Walker. I am not on the Kenneth Walker bandwagon. I'm also not off of him. That zone running scheme in Seattle is going to be lethal. We saw it in preseason, and I think we're to see it in the regular season. If Kenneth Walker can stay healthy, he is, without a doubt, in my opinion, a league winner. There are big questions about his health, and I also think Zach Charbonnet is a comparable talent to him, but Kenneth Walker will be the guy week 1 if he is healthy to start off as the lead back. We'll see how that goes. So again, I'm not fully off of Kenneth Walker. I'm not completely banging the drum for him, but he is definitely an interesting pick inside of the 4th round. So we're back up on the clock here, and for me, the clear pick here is going to be TreVeyon Henderson. Now, his ADP is going to keep moving on up, so by the end of August, you may not be able to get him here at the 5.12, but based on where we're drafting right now, I do think it is very possible, assuming also if you're playing up against people that aren't the sharpest, they're just drafting based upon the highest ranked player on your screen. They might not even know who TreVeyon Henderson is. This guy has just looked so good in preseason. Every single training camp report is just oogling and ogling for TreVeyon Henderson. So to me, he would be an insta pick here at the 5.12. And sure, I am still a little bit nervous about Josh McDaniels absolutely just screwing TreVeyon Henderson over, giving him way too many touches, and you end up just feeling sad because Josh McDaniels kind of always does that. But at the same time, I also think the talent speaks for itself. He is just that good to keep him off the field. And if you're like, Nick, it's impossible that TreVeyon Henderson would fall that far in my league, then just replace him with Isaiah Pacheco, and we can call that how it would have went. Because if I wanted to go running back, Isaiah Pacheco is my next highest ranked running back. I want the running back one on an offense that I could believe could be one of the best, if not the best offenses in the NFL. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the Chiefs could be that. Isaiah Pacheco, when healthy last year, did look solid, and he was a top 8 running back in expected fantasy points per game through his first 2 starts of the season. So if he is able to stay healthy this season, I think the ceiling is the moon for him. And I do think he's also a relatively safe player in that range. So if you're like, Nick, Henderson can't go there, then just replace him with Isaiah Pacheco. And then for me here, it would be pretty hard to stay away from Tet McMillan. Tet McMillan's another guy that is rising at a rapid rate because a lot of people are falling in love with his profile out of Arizona. A lot of people are falling in love with how the Carolina Panthers offense has looked and how the beat reporters have been talking up Tet McMillan. I've liked Tet McMillan for a while now. I've had him ranked considerably higher than expert consensus rankings. If you want my rankings, they're over on Patreon. Link in the video description, $12.50, full PPR as well as half PPR. Update those all the time. Tet McMillan is a guy that I like a ton, but since we've taken him in so many mock drafts recently, I try to treat these like my real drafts, right? I don't want to take the same players every single time. Now, if you're just in one home league, just take the best fucking player available. But if you're in 5, 10 leagues, some of you guys might be in 3, 4, 5 leagues, I might take Tet McMillan here 4 times if I'm in 5 leagues or 3 times, and then take J-Mo or someone else the other 2 times. I love Calvin Ridley. He does feel a little bit like a reach here just based on ADP, so we'll go with Jameson Williams. I'm pretty indifferent on Jameson Williams this season. I don't love him. I also don't hate him. I think the upside's very significant from a week-in, week-out basis, but I think losing Ben Johnson could ultimately be the downfall of Jameson Williams. But when we already have Nico Collins, who I feel very confident in when healthy, when we have the running back core that we have, I feel confident taking some upside shots. So we'll go with Jameson Williams. Will he be the most consistent player on our team? The answer to that is a strong fuck no, baby. But the upside is always going to be there. Now, if you wanted to take Baker in the 6th round here, Bo, Nix, whoever your highest ranked quarterback is, I'd be fine with that. We're still going to continue to wait on the tight end position. So we'll go ahead and draft Jameson Williams here. After J-Mo, Jalen waddled away, waddle, Patrick Mahomes, DeAndre Swift, Travis Kelce, Jerry Jeudy, Travis Hunter, Tet McMillan, Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, Tony Pollard, Jordan Addison Ray, Baker Mayfield, Chris Olave, Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, Bo Nix, Caleb Johnson, Rome Odunze, Quinshon Judkins, Jacoby Myers, Brian Robinson, Mark Andrews. Now, I thought Quinshon Judkins was going to get suspended. Obviously, that whole story, you can think what you want about it, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be suspended. He should be the RB1 on the Browns, but he did miss a serious amount of time in training camp, so they might look to just ease him in. So in the 7th round, I don't think he's like this dreadful pick, but I definitely would prefer to take a guy like Tyrone Tracy, to take Jordan Mason above him, right? So while I'm, a guy like Brian Robinson who went after him, I would also prefer to have over Quinshon Judkins. It's just kind of hard to fall in love with a running back that, again, is going to be starting the training camp processes as a rookie incredibly late. In an offense we expect to be completely and utterly dick cheese, it does feel kind of gross to have to pull the trigger and draft that guy in the 7th round. I'm not saying he's an awful pick. I think it might take some time, but if he's your running back too, right, which is the case for Team 8, I don't feel really good about that at all, if I'm being honest with you. So we're going to keep hammering the wide receiver position here, unless we want to go tight end. And since we ended up seeing Evan Ingram come off the board, Mark Andrews got picked 1 pick ahead of us, I would be fine just waiting a lot longer at the tight end position and taking potentially 2 shots a little bit later. Quarterback, the same thing, in my opinion. We've already seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12 teams already have a quarterback, not including us. But before we actually make this pick, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using the link in the video description, or by signing up using promo code Notorious, you will get your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as getting my draft guide sent to your email that you use to sign up the very next day, as long as you deposit $10 and play through that. If you don't know what Underdog is, it is the best ball platform in the world. If you're like, Nick, what is best ball? Best ball is the best part about fantasy football. It's the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. They have a big tournament called Best Ball Mania, the biggest tournament in fantasy football right now. 15 million total prizes, $2 million to first place, $25 to enter, $100K to the regular season winner. They also have smaller entry fee contests on there, so make sure you guys do check that out. So I really wish Andrews fell back to us. I would have adored this start, but we've taken some risks at wide receiver with Maserati Marv, with Jameson Williams, so we're going to start to draft at least one more wide receiver here. Now, if Terry McLaurin still hasn't signed by late August and maybe he gets traded, Deebo Samuel might be the fucking steal of the draft. I have been someone that has put Deebo Samuel in a metaphorical body bag for years. This is a guy that has been a waste of space in your lineup. I've told you guys to fade him for as long as I can remember. But if Terry McLaurin isn't with the fucking team, then Deebo is going to be the wide receiver 1 on a good offense with a top, at minimum, 8 quarterback in the NFL. And with a good play caller, so Deebo might end up being a steal. But again, this is something that it would be great to, if your league drafts in early September, you'll have a lot more of an idea of how the situation plays out. I'm going with Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs currently was listed as questionable, I believe. He sits out of the preseason game. He's with a quote-unquote knee injury. I'm not worried. The veteran wideout avoided the PUP in training camp. And to me, everything I've read says that he's fine. So I don't really want to be panicking at all off of that. I think he's going to be ready to go for week 1. Maybe he starts off a little bit slow because he is coming off of that serious injury. But all training camp reports have been incredibly positive towards him being good to go. So I'm just not going to panic after reading that. So if we wanted to go quarterback here, I love Brock Purdy. But again, I think Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott or Justin Fields will fall back to us later. At tight end, I like David Njoku. I like Tyler Warren. What pick are we at right now in the draft? 85. We probably won't be able to get Tyler Warren or Njoku if we wait. Now, one team here. Team 2 does not have a tight end. Team 3 has a tight end. Only 1, 2, 3. 3 teams don't have a tight end, but they all pick, obviously, before it comes back around to us. So they're very likely to take a tight end. This is kind of just the question of how safe do you want to be. If you want to be as safe as possible, you take Njoku. I get the Cleveland Browns are not a great team, but Njoku just continues to put up numbers regardless of who the quarterback is. He's very safe. Tyler Warren's a lot more of an upside-based play, but he has gotten a lot of another guy that's just gotten all this praise, and he looked great in preseason action. So I'm going to go with Tyler Warren over David Njoku, but if you wanted to be safer, you could do that. And with Tyler Warren, since he is a rookie, and while I would be fine just playing him week 1, if you wanted to draft a backup tight end, which maybe we do here, and you want to get that nice veteran, a guy like Tucker Kraft, or if Jake Ferguson is healthy, Jake Ferguson, you play that guy week 1, and then you kind of just see what Tyler Warren does before you want to insert him into your lineup. I think that's a very acceptable move. After you want Tyler Warren, Khalil, Shakira, Deebo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, Jared Goff, David Njoku, Kyler Murray, Tyrone Tracy, Chris Godwin, Travis Etienne, Matthew Golden Scar, Juwan Jennings, I'm a scat man, bop, billy, bop, Cam Scotabo, Colston Loveland, Jalen Warren, Jaden Riley Reed, Justin Herbert the Pervert, Emeke Egbuka, Jordan the Numbers Mason, what do they mean? Ricky Rolex, Johnny, I called him Johnny Smith, Janu Smith, J.K. Dobbins, and Josh Downs. So we still don't have a quarterback. That team took a backup quarterback. Now, this is something that is a trend in some leagues, doesn't happen in other leagues. The sharper the league you are in, the less likely it is that someone takes a backup quarterback before you take your quarterback if you're waiting. Now, if you haven't been playing in the league for a while, it's kind of just a crapshoot. If you've been playing for a while, I suggest this in a lot of videos, you just go to your league's history and you just go ahead and look at how the drafts have went in the past. Are people taking 2 quarterbacks? Is no one taking 2 quarterbacks? Is there that one guy that always reaches on his QB2? That is something that you want to be prepared for. So if you can go back in the history and figure that out, then you can make much better decisions in your draft. Now, it's not always 100% likely that your draft goes the exact same way as it did in a prior year. You guys will see on Monday my home league Superflex draft that I did. It's a live vlog. It's going to be very fun to watch. I hope you guys do enjoy that. Every year, except for this year, quarterbacks were coming off the board fast and furious. Shout out to Paul Walker. Whereas this year, the quarterback position was a little bit more tame. So it's not a 100% guaranteed answer. It's not the fucking you snuck into the teacher's desk and stole the answers to the finals so you could pass. But it is definitely something that I think is important to look at. So I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I get Brock Purdy isn't the most sexy quarterback in the NFL. We're not just talking about his looks. He's a good-looking guy, pause. But Brock Purdy, he doesn't run, right? He doesn't have that crazy rushing upside, but he's on a team with a bunch of good weapons in a Kyle Shanahan offense where he's proven to be a fantasy football producer. So I feel pretty confident drafting him inside of the 9th round. Now, if you just wanted to go ahead and draft your second tight end here, take Tucker Kraft mac and cheese, really wrap up a condom around that tight end position, go right ahead and do that. That's fine. To me, it would be between running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Zach Charbonnet might be the most elite handcuff in fantasy football because if something was to happen to Kenneth Walker, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, Zach Charbonnet is the kind of guy that can kick down the teeth of the defense, have the defense's teeth looking like that gap that Michael Strahan has in his teeth, right? Or maybe even drop a 35-40 bomb if you get incredibly lucky, right? He is an elite handcuff. But the thing about Zach Charbonnet is he is probably as useless as it gets if Kenneth Walker is healthy. So if Kenneth Walker is playing, Zach Charbonnet is just burning a hole in your pocket. But if Kenneth Walker gets hurt, Zach Charbonnet is instantly a guy that we're talking about as like a top 18 running back weekly. Maybe even in the top 12, top 8, depending on matchup. So I like Zach Charbonnet a ton. Something to think about here. Wide receivers, we got Jaden Higgins. The Houston Texans did just get rid of John Mechie. I don't think that really moves the needle too much on Jaden Higgins. If you like Jaden Higgins, you probably still do. If you didn't like him, maybe now you just like him a little bit more, but it's not like John Mechie was going to go out there and fucking vulture a million targets away from Jaden Higgins. He wouldn't be the reason why Jaden Higgins wouldn't be able to succeed. More than likely, that would be because Christian Kirk is getting targeted out the ass. So that's something to note. I think we're either going running back or tight end here. There is a pretty clear fall off at the tight end position eventually, but since so many teams have tight end, hopefully the guy we want comes back to us. So we'll just go ahead and take Zach Charbonnet. Again, in week 1, will he be useful? Probably not, but deeper down the stretch of the season, if something was to happen to Walker, Zach Charbonnet is a potentially league-winning selection this late on in the draft. So after Zach Charbonnet, Jaden Higgins, Dalton Kincaid, Dak Prescott, the GOAT, Kyle Pitts, Javonte Williams, CJ Stroud, Tucker Kraft, we just got fisted, Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, Keon Coleman, Caleb Williams, Darnell, here comes the Mooney. The worst pick of the draft, the defenses, the Texans and the Ravens back-to-back, some kickers going. If you play in a league with kickers and defenses, wait until the last 2 rounds. If you really love a kicker, go ahead and take him in round 12. But I am not taking a kicker or defense before I get my upside bench spots. I just don't think that makes very much sense at all. And for defenses, it doesn't matter how great the defense is, right? The Denver Broncos have the best defense in the league, right? That's what people say, or the Eagles, right? But those are teams that are going to run into tough matchups. At the defensive position, you're going to stream every single week, and you're going to increase the upside of your lineup every single week by having that team that's playing up against the shitty opponent. My main target is the LA Rams. They go up against the Texans week 1. The Texans have a dog shit offensive line. You're going to be seeing a lot of volume going the way of the defense just being able to, I guess the volume doesn't really make sense, right? That wasn't like the correct word to use, but we're just talking here. It's a nice fun yap session. Basically what I mean is, if the offensive line sucks, the defensive line is going to have their way, and they do have an amazing defensive line. So now we're going to go probably wide receiver here. We could go tight end, but again, now we're kind of in the range of, do we even want to draft a backup tight end? Why not just say fuck it and play Tyler Warren week 1? Because we didn't get Ferguson, we didn't get Goddard, we didn't get Kraft. Like, we didn't get that reliable tight end number 2 that can be my tight end 1 for early on in the season. So we're probably not going to end up drafting a second tight end. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks left, but only 3 rounds left, or 4 rounds left, but I think that will fix once we get into the 14th round. So here, I'm going to add an unk to our lineup, and we're going to get Keenan Allen. I like Rashid Shaheed a ton as well, but Keenan Allen last year was incredibly boom or bust, but the booms, the big boom, shout out to bdge and Big Justice, were very solid, and with the injuries to other wide receivers on the Chargers, to me, it just kind of feels as though Keenan Allen's clearly the number 2 there with Ladd McConkey, and upside weekly is very high. The safety, though, might be pretty low. And then we're going to go with the running back here. We could go with Nick Chubb, who could potentially start in week 1. Every report I read about Joe Mixon just seems very confusing. I don't think we're going to actually have a true answer on how healthy Joe Mixon is until probably right before the start of the season. So even if you're drafting in late August or early September, I don't think a lot of you guys will actually have a true answer on Joe Mixon, which scares the fuck out of me. So I do think Nick Chubb's a decent dart throw late on in drafts, even if the offensive line does suck just due to how hard of a runner Nick Chubb is. And he did look fine in the videos I've seen of him. I don't think he's prime Nick Chubb from a couple of years ago. And obviously when you suffer that crazy of an injury, and he suffered twice, because in Georgia he got absolutely murked as well, eventually that's going to catch up to you. But he's still not a super old running back, and now he's another year removed from it. I think Nick Chubb could be sneaky decent this year for the 12th round, right? If he was going like round 5, or wait, you know, remember last year, I don't remember exactly where he was going, but people in the comments were like, Nick, why don't you believe in Nick Chubb? You've been a 9-inch Nicholas Chubb fan for a while, and now you're just a hater. I told everyone to fade him, and then of course he doesn't do diddly squat, and I'm right, but now another year removed, I think he could definitely perform a whole lot better. So we're not going to get a backup tight end. We're not getting a backup quarterback. I trust Brock Purdy enough to not have to take a second guy. So we're going to go ahead and take a wide receiver here with this pick. And we're going to go kind of like Dante Thornton, looking like potentially the wide receiver 2 in Viva Las Vegas. Joshua Palmer absolutely skull-fucked us last season in LA, but now he's in Buffalo. Different spot. And Khalil Shakir's a little bit banged up. Luther Burden, probably the wide receiver 3, more of a long play. So if you're looking for more of a long play, a guy you stash on your bench, he could be the answer. Christian Kirk could be the wide receiver 2 off the jump in Houston. We already have Nico Collins. We already have 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, so we don't need 3 guys on the Houston Texans. So let's go with Dante Thornton. The guy is built like fucking Kevin Durant, or like Slender Man. Also, if you've ever seen what Dante Thornton looks like. And he could be the wide receiver 2 in Viva Las Vegas. So now we need our kicker and defense. First, we're going to go with our kicker. We're going to go with my old bitch lame, but my young ho coup. And after that, we see Trey Benson, Cam Ward, Marvin Mims, Luther Burden, Loop, Tyler Bass, Pro Shops, Rashad Master Bateman, the 49ers, Kaimi Fairbairn, Isaac Garendo, the Chiefs, Cam Little, the man who hit a 70-yard field goal, Isaiah Likely, Adam Thielen, Tutton, Christian Kirk, King Tutton himself, Jerome Ford, F-150, Kyle Williams, Ray J. Davis, Michael Penix, Dylan Sampson, Hunter Henry. We're going to go with the defense here, and we're going to draft the LA Rams again because they're playing up against the Texans, a dog shite offensive line in week 1. So we're going to go ahead and move our camera. We're going to do a bit of a slide like the beginning of a Sunday night football game, all the way to the left side of the screen here so you guys can see our team in full. We got Nico Collins, Devon Achane, Omarion Hampton, Marvin Harrison Jr., Travion Henderson, Jameson Williams, Stephon Diggs, Tyler Warren, Brock Purdy, Zach Charbonnet, Keenan Allen, Nick Chubb, Dante Thornton, Young Hoku as well as the LA Rams defense. So I like this team. There are definitely some risks on the roster with the health of Achane. I'm not too worried about that. But with Marvin Harrison Jr., with Jameson Williams, but I do think we have some safety with a guy like Stephon Diggs, with the Keenan Allen. And we also have some big upside shots on this team as well. So I think this team's relatively balanced. I would have loved this team a little bit better if I could have gotten Mark Andrews instead of having to take Tyler Warren. But sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles when you wait on the tight end position. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you ended up enjoying, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video to help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter or X, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen already. Make sure you guys check out the Patreon, get the draft guide. Love you long time. Have a great one. As always, good boy.